Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. And who better to break down this week's highlights than our executive producer, Whitney Pasterek, and Nashville Scene columnist and CityCast Nashville contributor, Nicole Williams. Turns out this week's Metro Council meeting was, quoting Nicole here, a comically messy discussion that culminated in a Parks and Rec level procedural fiasco. She gives us a rundown of what happened and why it was so entertaining. Whitney shares with us which newly filed bills for the Tennessee legislative session caught her attention, including Afton Bain's Pot for Potholes bill. I wrap things up with a quick vibe check and look at all the happenings around town this weekend, including, sadly, the closing of Red Perch, and happily, the Puppy Bowl at the Nashville Zoo. It's Friday, February 7th. I'm your host, Marie Cecil Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Whitney, Nicole, welcome. What a week.
Hi, Marie.
Hello, friends.
It's always such a pleasure to have you, Nicole, our drama queen.
Nicole doesn't create drama. Nicole just merely observes the drama.
I observe and I document the drama.
And you document it so beautifully. And just
Thank
this week, you had an article in the Nashville Scene recapping this week's Metro Council meeting, where you described it as a vintage Metro Council meeting, low stakes, high drama nonsense.
Yes.
We want to know the tea. What did we miss here?
So I started watching Metro Council meetings about 5 years ago during COVID, basically because I realized it was a bunch of people being super dramatic about a bunch of things that really weren't that dramatic. Now, don't get me wrong, Metro Council deals with a lot of very serious issues, but in times like these, don't we just need to have a little fun?
Send in the clowns.
Send in the clowns.
So that's what they did on Tuesday night. They just decided to have a little circus, and it was hilarious. So all of this drama centered around one particular bill that I did not think would generate very much discussion.
This was all centered around a bill that looked to transfer a little bit of money out of something and give it to the nightmare.
Yes, it looked to transfer about $171,000 from the codes department, which handles, building inspections, property standards violations, like, if your grass is too high, God forbid, and give that to the Office of Nightlife is the official title, the Nashville Office of Nightlife.
I just call him Nightmare.
We love our Nightmare, Benton McDonough. The idea is to have a pilot program that would allow staff in the Office of Nightlife to go out at night and help enforce violations of noise and alcohol ordinances. And so they're going to start downtown because it's a pilot program. And then the idea is if it works, then they will expand to do this countywide.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the Nightmare and his minions were previously not able to enforce anything. They were just able to say, oh, look at that.
Well, I don't know the answer to that question,
Oh,
Whitney.
okay.
But what I do know is that they don't have very many staff. And generally speaking, all of that enforcement goes to MNPD. And how they described it is that MNPD would be involved in the enforcement, but that essentially this is like a force multiplier. So you have these people who would be specifically focused on noise ordinances and alcohol ordinances to try to keep downtown a little less crazy.
That sounds worthwhile, Marie.
That's two people added to the staff?
It would be. Could be more in the future.
I wish y'all could see Marie's face right now.
I'm like, I personally have been downtown Nashville and tried to lower the noise ordinances in certain instances.
How did that go for you?
I think somebody threw something at me.
Well, you weren't official, Marie.
That's
you didn't
true.
have a fancy little name tag.
That's true. I just had Daisy Dukes on.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Cowboy boots. Had to fit in.
So this seems like a fine idea. Like, who knows if it will work, but it's like,
Yeah.
okay, not a big deal. Not very much money.
Not a big deal. Okay.
Yeah. some of these council members were so upset about this.
Why?
Basically, there's this feeling among some council members that codes is not doing a good enough job as it is enforcing property standards violations. And there was a really great article in the Nashville Scene a couple years ago called Code Snitching.
Yes, shout out Radley Balco, one of our city's finest journalists.
About how this process works. So I encourage everyone to read it. And some council members are upset that codes is not doing more. And so they were like, why would we take the money from codes and give it to this other department that's just going to be focused on downtown? Because I'm sick of hearing about downtown. And I don't disagree with that. But codes has said we have the staff that we need. You can only move so fast through the enforcement process because you have to give people a chance to correct things. You can't just be like, go directly to jail. The codes director was like, we're doing our best and we're not going to use this money. So why don't we just give it to another department to see if they can do something good with it?
Yeah.
Councilmember Tasha Ellis, who represents parts of Antioch and Southeast Nashville, led the charge attempting to get this bill deferred. And it appeared she was looking to defer it so that she could have a community meeting that's already scheduled for mid-March. And so she was like, everybody else needs to be on my schedule and we need to defer this until April so I can have my community meeting with codes and then I'll decide if I want to support it. Now, I don't know if y'all know, but there are 40 council members.
For now.
And for now. And they don't usually just like change their legislative calendar to meet the schedule of one council member.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was just this procedural nightmare where, not to be confused with nightmare, procedural nightmare, where everyone was kind of losing their minds. People were laughing at each other. Vice Mayor Angie Henderson at one point told the council to simmer down.
Oh, harsh words from Vice Mayor Henderson.
Oh, yes. She said, everybody simmer down. Councilmember Antoinette Lee, who also represents parts of Southeast Nashville, was like, why are y'all being so mean to each other? Stop being mean. And she literally said, this was incredible and so heartfelt and so earnest. I know I am very inept sometimes. And I love that admission, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're recognizing our shortcomings. And she's like, so we just need to be nicer to each other. That didn't really cause a change in the tone of the debate. And ultimately, after all of this brouhaha, they passed the bill on second reading with 28 votes in favor. Only 3 people voted against it. And this is just literally my favorite thing about Metro Council, when they will have these incredibly heated debates about incredibly innocuous legislation and then just pass it overwhelmingly.
Well, the thing we expected to have a heated debate this week got deferred before the meeting. And that was the Fusus guardrails bill, right?
Yes, it was deferred in the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting. It was deferred by rule on the floor. So no discussion of that. It will come back up at the next council meeting, assuming that there's not another deferral.
So I listened to the mayor field questions on This Is Nashville.
The day mayor?
The day mayor.
The day mayor.
That's true. Mayor O'Connell. And he adamantly said that his biggest priority is safety, keeping Nashville safe. So with all this discussion of Fusus, I want to ask you both, do you believe him?
Sure. I mean, I don't think he's lying about wanting to keep Nashville safe.
All of Nashville safe?
Okay. See, there's immigrants who are like super concerned about safety right now. I don't know if y'all are aware of what's going on at the federal level, but there are mass deportations. And to say that he's very concerned about safety when you have immigrant advocacy organizations, immigrants on the council saying Fusus will not keep us safe. In fact, it will be actively harmful to our efforts to keep our communities safe. The fact that he's hearing all that, and we know he's hearing it, and continues to say that his priority is keeping all of Nashville safe, it doesn't make sense to me.
To me, it breaks down to your definition of safety.
Yeah.
So if you're a property owner or a business owner and your definition of safety is, I'm worried that someone is going to break into my house or my business, or I'm concerned that my car has been broken into, or I'm concerned that there's been gun violence outside of my business and it might be driving customers away, then Fusus and other surveillance technology probably does feel like a great idea to keep you safe with your idea of safety. But I think if you go talk to people in our immigrant community, in our unhoused community, I think a lot of women who are concerned about their privacy regarding reproductive health, or parents who are concerned about their privacy regarding the gender identity of their children, they have a very different definition of safety.
One thing that I've tried to stress throughout this entire debate is there is no data to suggest that license plate readers or surveillance cameras reduce violent crime rates. There's no data. If it was out there, someone would have pointed it out by now.
I want everyone to know that I did text the mayor last night and invite him to come on our show and tell us specifically all the ways in which he is planning to keep Nashville safe. No response on that yet, but fingers crossed. And Day Mayor, if you're listening to this, please come.
Well, one thing he said also on This Is Nashville is that over 100 people have applied to be the director for Office of Youth Safety. So to have that many applicants, to show that much interest, it is really exciting that it does look like the Office of Youth Safety will be up and running hopefully by this summer. Now let's look ahead to the not special Tennessee legislative session.
The not special.
The not special.
This session is not gifted and talented. It is not a special session.
And we have some of the newly filed bills that caught our eye this week. Whitney, what are we looking at?
I pulled out 4 that really caught my eye this week. I'm going to start with some of the bills that have been filed by Republican members of our state legislature. And I'm actually going to quote Holly McCall, the editor of the Tennessee Lookout, who in her newsletter this week, she started with, a lot of people say that Tennessee doesn't make laws, it makes lawsuits. And we've got a great example of that right out the gate here. It's House Bill 793. It was filed by House Majority Leader William Lamberth and State Senator Bo Watson. And they introduced this bill to allow school districts to deny undocumented students from enrolling, according to the Nashville Banner. The bill runs counter to the 1982 U.S. Supreme Court Plyler versus Doe decision, which entitled all children to public education despite immigration status. Representative Lamberth and Senator Watson both said that this bill was intentionally designed to challenge that Supreme Court precedent. Nicole, how do you feel about this? Something tells me you have a strong feeling.
To what end? That is my question about bills like this. You're essentially treating children who have no agency over where they are taken, where they live. You're treating them like criminals. And you're punishing children for the actions of their parents, actions that we know are most often taken in order to keep their children safe. So I don't understand what this accomplishes other than to just be cruel.
I think that is a really good point, and it's echoed by someone who is quickly racing to the top of Whitney's favorite Tennessee state Republicans chart. That's Todd Gardenhire. He's a state senator from Chattanooga who has actually joined the Democrats in speaking out loudly against this measure. According to the Tennessean, his quote was, "It saddens me that we pick on children. That's just something we ought not to do here. These kids are brought here by their parents. If you believe in the Bible, as I do, all through the Old Testament, it talks about you don't punish children for what their fathers do." So good on you, Todd. I believe he is also the one who pushed back against the suggestion that we rename Nashville International Airport after President Donald Trump.
We're in the upside down.
Another bill that stood out to me, House Bill 107. This is a change to the Tennessee Assistance for Needy Families rules that's being pushed by Governor Bill Lee's administration. According to the Tennessee Lookout, it would remove school attendance and vaccine mandates for families receiving state financial assistance payments. Required immunizations, which met opposition in 2021 during the COVID-19 pandemic, are believed to be the impetus for the bill. So this is the Republicans saying, we're happy to give you money from our TANF funds. That's TANF.
TANF.
No, it's TANF, Nicole. Just like the mascot of the Preds is Ganache, okay?
Ganesh.
I'm going to be an iconoclast right now. I am going to take the side of the Republicans on this issue. And let me explain before everyone yells at me. I think we should not have paternalistic requirements on assistance to low-income families. I think that using money that we have, that people need, as a cudgel to force them to comply with requirements. And like, I believe in vaccinations. I hope parents get their kids vaccinated. But I'm for like eliminating means testing on what should be universal programs. I'm for eliminating barriers to receiving aid when you need aid. I'm for trusting people to do what's right for themselves and their families. And that's a consistent position that I have. I don't see the Republicans holding that position consistently.
Well, I appreciate your bravery in sharing that with us, Nicole. And this measure would also eliminate other requirements like that parents must attend conferences with teachers, take 8 hours of parenting classes, and participate in child support services. Again, that's all from the Lookout. And I do know in the past that trying to get a TANF grant, it's a lot to do with like the nuclear family and 2-parent households and all that stuff too. So one more thing I want to mention in terms of in the vaccine category, under the heading of vaccinations, Senator Joey Hensley has also filed a bill requiring people who donate blood to reveal whether or not they got vaccinated for COVID. I kind of think the Venn diagram of the people who give blood and the people who cared enough to get vaxxed against COVID is sort of like a circle. So I'll be curious to see where that one goes.
I have questions about the medical necessity of that. Like, what's the point? Is it the 5G chips?
And chemtrails. But as we know, chemtrails already illegal here in Tennessee.
Right.
From last year.
Right.
And vaccines in lettuce. Okay, but now, speaking of vaccinated lettuce.
Speaking of the devil's lettuce.
This is a good segue. House Bill 703 has shown up from Representative Afton Bain and State Senator Heidi Campbell, both of whom have been guests on this podcast. It is pot for potholes. According to WKRN, the bill outlines regulations for growing, processing, and selling marijuana, which is currently not legal in Tennessee. Additionally, it states that 75% of the revenue derived from taxing marijuana and marijuana products must be deposited into the state highway fund. Ladies.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm so here for this. Obviously, we have infrastructure issues all over town. And what a way to fix it.
It's not going to happen. Like, let's be honest.
I know.
But the tagline is great. Like, whoever came up with that, incredible.
I think it's got to be Afton because she spent the whole year doing a campaign called Rocky Top, Not Rocky Roads to raise awareness about this. I think she's really good at naming things.
Nicole, can you explain why this is not going to happen?
Because it's coming from a Democrat and we are in a Republican supermajority controlled legislature. And there's a lot of moralizing among Republicans about the dangers of marijuana.
Mm-hmm. Reefer madness, baby.
Yes. And so there hasn't even been much interest in the past in legalizing medical marijuana, let alone recreational marijuana. So I think we're several steps removed from any widespread interest in the legislature, at least, about this issue.
Well, 60% of Tennesseans do support the legalization of marijuana, according to our old friend, the Vanderbilt University poll.
I welcome it. We'll see.
All right. Well, that's all stuff that might happen. When we come back from the break, we're going to leave the land of speculation and talk about what really is happening, because I think the vibes are weird.
So, Whitney, you said, yeah, the vibes are weird in Nashville. Nicole, do you agree?
The vibes are off. They've been off for quite some time. This predated Trump even. It's just been weird.
So the reason I say this is that I went to Kroger on Tuesday night, a good old Inglewood Kroger, Glory Hole Kroger for those in the know. And at 7:30 at night, it was deserted. Absolutely deserted, to the point that I asked the ladies behind the checkout counters, like, is this really weird or am I making it up? And they were like, no, this is really weird. It was zombie apocalypse movie creepy. And I'm just wondering if I'm the only one observing that.
Well, CityCast contributor Margaret Lippman posted that they were out of ice cream. Just shelves upon
All
shelves
ice
with
cream?
no. Was that at the Inglewood Kroger's as well?
Yeah, it was at the Inglewood Kroger's.
What's going on?
Out of all ice cream, there was not a single brand.
Most of them were out.
But Marie, you went out into civilization and I hope had an experience that was not eerie or zombie apocalyptic in any way. You went to Folks Table.
I did. If listeners are not familiar with Folks Table, it's a sit-down social network, which means you meet with complete strangers out in the world at a coffee shop or a bar or restaurant, and you play the game, which leads you to have deeper conversations with strangers. And so I played, and I went to this really cool bar I never would have gone to, Le Loop, which is above the Optimist in Germantown. And honestly, it was so weird and fun. I had a blast, and I think I'm going to do it again. You know, it was just a really cool way to get to know our neighbors and people from all over Nashville. It was really beautiful, actually. Weird and beautiful.
I'm so glad you went and tried that out. So folks, you can go back and listen to our episode about Folks Table if you would like, or just email Marie at CityCast. No, just kidding.
Send me a question. Let's get to know each other.
Speaking of bars and restaurants, you said you went to Le Loop for the first time. We've got some closings, but then we also have one opening that I really want to talk about. So pour one out for Red Perch, which the New York Times called one of the best restaurants in Nashville. Their last service was yesterday. Also, a really sad goodbye to the Corner Bar there on Elliston Place in what used to be the Rock Block and now is just going to need a new name. One of the last standing dive bars in Midtown, and it's going to close in March because a rich guy is building a giant skyscraper.
Sounds familiar.
Nicole, did you ever go to Corner Bar?
Never been there, never been to Red Perch.
Well, let me try a place I know you have been to, Nicole, because we've gone there together. Rosemary and Beauty Queen. The owners of Rosemary and Beauty Queen are opening a new bar, and here's why I think it's amazing. You're never going to guess where it's going. I don't know how many of our listeners remember that there was, for some time, an alt-right gym, like a neo-Nazi gym. No, not the one out towards Ashland City. It was on Gallatin, at like Gallatin and Douglas behind Jerry's Market across from the Auto Diesel College. There was that werewolf mural on the wall next to a tiny, weird little black building with bars
mural?
on the windows. Werewolf.
Werewolf?
It's not WHERE. It's not werewolf. It's a werewolf.
Okay, we can talk about this offline.
Next to the Scary Wolf gym. It used to be that, and then a bunch of people vandalized it, and it disappeared. And now that building just kind of sits there. So Rosemary and Beauty Queen have decided, after weathering the fire at their existing location, they'd now like to open a new bar in a place like that might be haunted. I don't know. That just creeps me out. Would you go to a bar in a former alt-right workout facility?
That would be a negative.
The question is really, would I go to a bar?
Where do you hang out, Nicole?
At home.
At the Metro Council meetings every other Tuesday.
Well, yeah.
Do you drink there?
No, I don't. But sometimes I wonder if some of the council members do.
Well, what are your thoughts on In-N-Out Burger?
I had one once in California, and it was good. I liked it.
Would you be happy if it came to Nashville, maybe opening 10 to 15 stores in Nashville?
I probably wouldn't care, but that's cool.
Well, that's the word on the street.
It is so funny to me when y'all have me talk about restaurants because
I think it's so funny when I talk about Metro Council.
Okay, good point. Fair.
Ding,
I
ding,
love it.
ding.
We're all experts in our own fields, so that's fine. But apparently, the president of In-N-Out said she has fallen in love with Tennessee, and it may be opening several locations all across our beautiful state.
Actually, Nicole, you might have an opinion on this. That probably means more drive-throughs. And I know that a lot of people in this town are sick of everything having a drive-through.
Drive-thrus are super convenient. I want everyone to live the life that they want to live. We need to work on pedestrian safety, but also I can't take the bus right now because it would take me 3 times as long to get anywhere. So maybe Choose How You Move will change that. But in the meantime, I have to drive to get places. I don't really love interacting with people. I like sitting in my car, going through the window, and then I go on my merry way.
It's really, truly a miracle that you managed to interact with us on this podcast as many times as you have, Nicole. I want to just give you credit for that.
Thank you very much.
Nicole, will you be watching the Super Bowl on Sunday?
No.
Well, Whitney and I will, I'm sure. Whitney, do you have big plans for the Super Bowl?
I'm excited to watch the Super Bowl. I know that Daniel Sumstein, our producer, would like us to say, go Chefs, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, fly, Eagles, fly. But I want to make sure that everybody knows that if you're not into sports, Nicole, you might be into the Puppy Bowl. And the Nashville Zoo is having their own Puppy Bowl live and in person on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with adorable animals from Nashville Humane. Plus, there will be drinks, Marie. I know you love a booze at the zoo, from Tailgate Brewery and a Nashville Sweet Tea Company. That sounds really cute.
My sister has pitched this to my mom and I to go as a family. We told Mom, don't go to church. We're going to go to the Puppy Bowl on Sunday morning to watch these cute, adorable puppies. I know. Yay. And then I think they're up for adoption too. So yeah, it's so fun. But then also something I will be going to is checking out the Nashville Black Market's Black History Month Expo at the fairgrounds. It's both Saturday and Sunday this week, 12 to 4. Food trucks, vendors, games, DJs. I had the honor of interviewing Carlos Partey about his journey of opening Nashville Black Market, and it is quite a story, so I do recommend listening to that episode.
Always something going on here in Nashville. Nicole, you won't be going to any of it, but we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to sit in your closet with a microphone and talk to us.
Always. Always.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson. Our executive producer is Whitney Pasterek. Our producer is Daniel Sumstein. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury, and our theme music is by Prof Jenkins. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!